it doesn't have to be a frou-frou ceremony, but sometimes it's
Yes.
fun to have a frou-frou ceremony or any kind of ceremony. In general, we need to help women through this transition. And ceremony is one of those ways that our brain recognizes that allows us to see, okay, I am passing through a threshold now. My life is going to change.
Welcome to the Feminine Alchemy Podcast, where we explore the truth about the feminine, the peaceful, the wild, and the visceral. I'm your host, J.N. Behringer, joined by my co-hosts, Julie Dean Richards and Kaylee Rose. Each week, we explore the deep mysteries of the feminine and help listeners apply them to their daily lives in a practical way. Join us to unlock the hidden wisdoms your soul has been waiting for. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Feminine Alchemy. We are all three here. We've got Jan on the line, and then also Julie Dean Richards and Kaylee Rose. Say hi.
Hi.
Hello. So good to be together again because it has been few and far between lately, and we are so blessed to have so many wonderful, powerful interviews to share with the world. But that means that we talk to each other a little bit less sometimes. So that's totally cool. Um, Today we're going to talk about mother blessings. So, very exciting for some people. I think I was thinking about it the other day, and I think I say every episode is very exciting. Very excited to talk about this, whatever it is. I'm not going to lie, I am not excited to talk about this, but we will find out why I'm not excited to talk about mother blessings. And if you're not excited to listen to them, then stay tuned because it's more than just tra la la. Everything's great. Put flowers in your water and feet in your flower water, and it's more than that. There's a lot of depth that's going to happen in the next, I don't know, 45 to 90 minutes. Who knows what?
45 to 90.
Oh,
Isn't that the truth?
But we need a get to know you question. So I'm going to ask you guys this we didn't talk about this beforehand at all. What are you doing lately to take care of yourself?
My goodness, that's such a good question. I'm so bad at this right now. I would say thinking it through, one thing that I am doing for myself, just in the location that I'm at now, is there's a lake and it's beautiful. And I won't have it for very much longer, but every day I go down to the lake and I bury my feet in the sand and I look at the lake and I just take deep breaths, and that's my thing for me, my moment for me to have just a tiny minute of peace before my kids come in and throw sand at me and make it less peaceful. But that's what I am doing for myself, very simply.
That's a great way to take care of yourself. It doesn't have to be some gigantic, extensive list of things that takes 5 hours out of your day.
It's
I
true.
think that's
Oh,
beautiful.
I am actually doing a thing. I forgot. I did a bigger thing. Oh my gosh, you guys. I didn't tell you this. I was going to tell you in our group chat, but I didn't, which is I decided to do a personal trainer for a month. Yes, I'm doing
Ooh.
strength training because I found out that it was cheaper than going to a chiropractor or my PT. And since I'm ready to like up get more physically in shape stuff, I was like, okay, I'm willing to make this investment. Again, it was cheaper than what I was doing before. So for 1 month, I am doing my strength training with a personal trainer. So I'm very excited about it. And I am very sore right now
Oh
because
my goodness. I love this for
he
you.
kicked my
I love
butt.
this for
So
you.
it's great.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
What are you doing, Kaylee?
Right. So, oh man. Um, I'm doing a lot of things right now, actually, which is not always the case, as far as making time for myself, with just ongoing healing with, like my leg and my pelvis from the blood clots and everything. I am in physical therapy, which actually is so, like, it's not just physically good for me, it's also emotionally good for me because the conversations that I'm getting to have with the physical therapists have been so fun. Like, I got to geek out about linguistics the other day and, like, language families because I have a captive audience. They and they're really nice and encouraging, and they kind of, like, get excited about things that I'm excited about. So it's like, "Yay!" Not that my husband doesn't get excited, and my kids, only some of them understand what I'm talking about when I geek out about things. Um, but to have twice a week, people just listen to me about whatever and take care of my body. I've been getting massages once a month, manual lymphatic drainage massages, which are super relaxing and feel amazing. Um, and I started doing this, like, I think it's called Leaply. It's this like somatic, or not somatic. Well, it is kind of somatic, but it has to do with lymphatic drainage, but also with fascia. And they're supposed to be like short exercises, short activities that you can do to help your lymphatic system and your fascial network so that you have better flow of the lymphatic system. And then I've been doing like these 5-minute exercises from something called the Chelsea method, which is specifically geared towards postpartum recovery. Um, and it sounds like, "Oh, Kaylee, like, that's a lot of work. Like, what like, that's just a lot of stuff you" Meh. But no, when I do them, I feel so much better. I feel emotionally so much better and physically so much better, and so it doesn't feel draining. Like, sometimes certain types of exercise just feel like, "Ugh, I don't wanna do this. This is awful, and it's sucking the life out of me." But this does not feel like that, and so it feels very much like self-care because it's beneficial on multiple levels instead of just, "Well, I have to like, I need to do this. I should do this, so I'm gonna do it." Hopefully that makes sense.
It makes so much sense. I think this is hilarious because, again, this was unprompted. You both had movement related self care, and I came into this going, I'm going to tell you guys about how movement has been changing things for me.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, this is wild. This is wild. I had always been the kind of person that was like, exercise is not necessary. It's like so much effort. Not in a sense of like, it's I'm just lazy and I think I shouldn't have to do it. There was some of that, but it was more of I very easily get adrenally drained, and typical exercise where it's like, "Rah, go, go, go," that is not good for me, and what I've experienced in the past is when I exercise like that, I get, tingly hands and feet, which is a sign that my body is attacking itself while I'm
Mhm.
exercising, so it's been really tricky to think about movement as even an option. But I started doing this metabolism course in April, for the month of April, and then before, a little bit after. And she has it's by Liz Wolfe. This is not like a plug for her at all. Love her. I've like followed her for over a decade. But
Taking notes.
right? It's eating lots of protein throughout the day and eating lots of there's so much more to it, but there's lots of, like, specific things to do throughout the day, and it's not cumbersome, but I've been doing that, and then she also has she's became a certified personal trainer, and she has these movement flows, and so, like, the actual exercise I sort of do maybe once a week. I can do, like, raw exercise maybe once a week if I'm, like, at the peak of my fitness. That's it. That's the best I can do. But she has these flows where it's about, rib cage flexibility, and it's just lying on the floor and, like, doing tiny little movements that sort of stretch the rib cage, and I have so much energy after that because I think I can breathe properly.
Yes.
There's nothing like oxygen to give you energy, right? The right amount of oxygen. So, yeah, it's been really helpful. And I noticed that if I don't do some version of movement, and I used to think movement was just another euphemism for exercise and whipping your own butt into shape. But no, it's intentional movement to increase flexibility, increase strength in certain areas of the body. And it's if I don't do it, then I get tired, which is great. Like, oh, I'm tired. I should sleep. Maybe I should do a little moving. So I was lying this morning on my back doing these rib cage exercises, and I was like, I should ask what kind of self care you guys are doing. I'm gonna whip out this surprising thing of exercise. Oh my god! Nope, y'all beat me to
That is too funny.
it.
That's what you get when everything's in Aries, ladies and gentlemen. Exercise is the thing. It's the self-care. When everything's in Aries, then self-care is the body,
It's all
which
about
I
the
love.
body.
Which I was gonna say when Kaylee was talking about all her self-care that she's been doing, I'm like, "That's why you're on fire, Kaylee." Kaylee has been, like, on fire with, like, her business stuff, making stuff, like,
Mhm.
people who don't know Kaylee very well, I'm just gonna tell you about her without her permission right now, which is
You know
she
all the
all
secrets.
the secrets. Kaylee works in these waves. She, like, has these waves where, like, if she's, like, super into something, there's, like, no stopping her. It's like she will get a 5-hour course done in one day. Like, she'll finish it, and she'll finish everything, and she'll, like, load it on. But if she is not feeling it, no, it will not happen. Nothing will move forward, which I think is true of
It
most,
will
like,
drag for
it will
months
drag for months.
and months.
Yeah, but it I mean, and I think most women actually work that way, and that's kind of the way we're meant to work is more working in waves rather than like a constant thrum, and we punish ourselves for that. But it's just so fun to see you like pick up. I knew you were feeling better like recently because your output has been so
Mm.
enormous, so quick, and like all these things coming through. I'm like, she must be doing something. And I'm like, this is what she's doing. She's taking care of herself. She's doing things. And like Jan showed up glowing today. I don't know if you knew that about yourself, but like
Oh,
not that you're like I looked at Jan and I was like, "Oh, your skin, like you look so good. Look at you. Look at your jawline." Like all these things. I'm like,
I'm sweating.
it's
That's the secret. I'm
sweaty
sweating.
You're
movement.
glistening.
Movement. I swear to it, movement. That's what got me through the end of my pregnancy. I've said it before, but I think it's such good self-care. And I think what Jan said is very important. It does not have to be the same as exercise. It doesn't have to be huge. You should do what works for you. But I love that oxygen thing. Okay, I'll shut up now, but I just had to say that.
So, so good. And it's so funny. Aries self-care is movement, taking care of the body. Well, okay. So let's shift gears slightly because this is also a self-care thing, right? But it's at a deeper energetic and even to a multi-social type of level is mother blessings. So tell us about what a mother blessing is so that way everybody has a frame of reference.
You want me to
Me,
now,
yeah.
Julie? Okay. We're both looking at each other since none of
I was
you
like,
can
I
see
know you
us.
aren't
We're
looking at
like
me, guys.
eyeballing each other. Who's gonna go? Who's gonna go first? The secrets of what goes on the podcast that you can't see because it's just our voices. Anyway, so mother blessings are essentially, well, most people are familiar with the concept of like a baby shower where you shower the baby with gifts. And I mean, technically you're showering the mother with gifts, but they're for the baby usually. And a mother blessing has very deep roots. Mother blessings in some form or another have been around for a long time. And the concept is that um, you are, if you're there to support a mother, you're there to be there for her. If you bring a gift, it is for her. If you're there, like you bring food for her or you give her a massage, you support her in preparing for birth. And especially like if it's the first time she's given birth, that transition, that matrescence of becoming a mother. And if she's had children before, it's another layer of that because no pregnancy is the same, no delivery is the same, no baby, no mother is the same from child to child. And it's this marker of a threshold for the transformation in the mother. And it's all about the mother so that she can do the work that only she can do for bringing her child into the world, and for her beyond that, because she matters beyond just birthing the child. Julie, you're muted.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful take on it and very well explained. You may have heard this concept before under the name blessing way. Some people call mother's blessings blessing way. I'm sure there are other names for it, but they are usually a little more spiritual in nature. I think that's why some people think it's odd or different than kind of the culture that we have around baby showers. Is, it takes on this more supportive role, this more spiritual role, because we're not doing things like playing silly games where like you melt down candy bars into diapers and like it looks like poop and people have to smell them and taste
Guess
them
the
and like
candy.
guess the candy, or like the safety pin thing, right, where like, oh, you lose your safety pins if you cross your legs, or like get the mom to say these words and then you get a prize. It's
My
not.
favorite one, sorry, my favorite one, real quick, from Bluey is Pregnant Lady Obstacle Course.
Wait, how have I missed this? My kids watch Bluey all the time, and, like, to be honest, I watch Bluey for me too.
It's
I've
so
missed
good.
that episode somehow.
It's the one where the mom goes to a baby shower and Bluey misses her and she's, like, really sad about it, and they're, like, describing what a
Oh,
baby shower is,
okay.
and they're like, "What is it?" "Oh, yeah, they go down to the city and they give a dirty baby a wash," right? And the kids are like, "No, no, 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 no. You get gifts for the baby, like onesies." "Oh, yes, babies love onesies," right? And then they're like and they play games like Pregnant Lady Obstacle Course. That is my
Oh my
favorite
gosh.
line from that episode. I
Pregnant
just,
lady
like,
obstacle
wait.
course.
Yes.
I love that. I love that so much. And it's not like you can't have fun. Like all those things can be fun and kind of kitschy and, whatever it is. But this is just more focused on helping that mother through that transition, through the door, through lots of different things. And it can look we'll describe later in the episode what this can look like, ideas for how to do it, even if you have not had children, or your children are grown and gone. there this episode is definitely still for you. We have a lot of ideas where you can support other mothers, because there's so many mothers who need this support, and you can customize this to work for you. And part of the reason we wanted to talk about this was because we it's about helping that threshold piece. We've been missing a lot of rites of passages in our culture, and this is one of the rites of passages that is often forgotten, and all the focus is on like, how's that baby? Where's that baby going? And a lot less is on, how are you doing emotionally? How do we help this mother through this dark night of the soul, which is birth, and how do we help her, come out of this rite of passage? So that's part of the reason we're talking about this. And if you are not going to go through this yourself, we will talk about how to have a reclamation if you never got to have this for yourself. Because Jan will talk about, she never got to do this for herself. And we can talk about how you can support other people, be it your daughters, granddaughters, friends, in doing this. So where should we start? Should we talk about why you don't like them? Why you didn't want to talk about this, Jan?
Yeah, that's probably a good place to start because there's a lot of, like, touchy-feely, lovey experience with all this, and I love that, and for some people, that might be saddening because they didn't experience that. I'll share a little bit why it was uncomfortable for me. Um, in the culture I grew up in, babies were considered fantastic, right? Pregnancy was only acceptable under specific conditions and not always acceptable, right? So we accept the baby, we don't accept the mother. And there's this distinction. And I took this class in ethics and medicine because it's all intertwined with some of this stuff, right? And one of the topics we had to talk about was women as fetal containers and how do we navigate legality with two lives in one? How do we navigate ethics in medicine with two lives in one, right? But it brought up this very specific experience that I was having in relation to women and birth and children and pregnancy, which is once you become pregnant, you no longer matter, period. And there are certain conditions where you are less than a person. There are so if you have get pregnant out of wedlock, you are no longer a person. If you are a teenager, you are less than, right? There's all these different rules around that was not okay. And even though my first pregnancy, I'd been married for 5 years and, I forgot the other part of that. Oh, I was 23. Like, I wasn't a teenager. I still felt like that first pregnancy, like, I was less than. Like, I was even for about the first 2 years, it was like, "Oh, you're a teen mom." I wasn't I wasn't a teen mom. But also, like, it was a very strange out of alignment experience, and that had a lot to do with, just the way that growing up was treated, those rites of passage in general, didn't feel like I got through any of them. I was never given like, "Here you go, this now you're allowed to do this thing." It was, "Oh, well, if your younger siblings can't do that thing, you can't either because I just don't wanna deal with it," right? Whatever wherever it was. So, when I became old enough to have children, I felt very, um, like it wasn't my place, like I was doing something wrong.
Mm.
And even though I had a wonderful, baby shower and had lots of people there was still this piece missing, and I felt ashamed to have the baby shower in the first place. I felt ashamed that, all of it, everything was so full of shame. The person who threw the baby shower for me was, like, also judging me while throwing me this baby shower, so that was
Mhm.
fun, right? That's not a good energy to be surrounded in, but
No.
it was very generous, it was very sweet to do that she did this. But, and I think too that during that time, if you become a mother at a different time than your friends do, you lose friends, and so there's a grief that happens there too because the friends who don't have children don't get it. They may not want to be around that. You might be overwhelmed. So there's just a lot going on during that time, and it may not be celebrated. And, so having the idea of like, let's talk about the fun times of blessing ways. Well, there's a lot of transition that happens, especially if you become a mother young. I was 24. It was the day after my 24th birthday. So I was pregnant all of 23. Very young for this day and age. Normal for like 100 years ago, late maybe. But this day and age it was you're doing something wrong. Let's then you should feel bad about that. I mean, and I'm not going to begrudge myself that experience either because having that is what pushed me on this sort of feminine spiritual path and like ask myself these questions of like, what the heck is this? But yeah, even with my youngest, I was 30 something, whatever. 34, 35, I don't know. 34, I think. Um, it was just like, I'm just so tired to yeah, I'm just tired. So, um so I guess that's all I had to say about that. I don't know. Do you have any questions? Because I wanna
Well, I wanted to say, I think your feelings are very relatable to a
Yeah,
lot of people,
100%.
and I I am really sad that that was the experience you had. I do remember deeply because I was also 23, and I know
Mm.
Kaylee was even younger.
No.
W
I
No,
was
you weren't?
23 for, like, a week, maybe a
Oh,
week and
you
a
were
half.
Oh,
23.
My first
Okay,
baby was
so
born.
yes,
Yeah.
similar. We were all 23. Look at us. We were all
so
23s,
funny.
24 when we had our babies. But, I do remember deeply that feeling of, like, feeling like a teenage pregnancy, like, feeling like the, like, "I'm not supposed to be pregnant? What is
Mhm.
happening? Like, this is scary." And, those feelings of even though in my case, everyone was, like, happy for me because we got pregnant so quickly, I felt a lot of
Mhm.
shame around getting
Mm.
pregnant so quickly after getting married. And a lot of like, oh, which kind of comes from the opposite direction, I guess. But, a lot of this like, oh, you guys couldn't wait or like you don't know how to use birth control, like all these,
Mhm.
like all those kind of shameful feelings
Mhm.
around birth. And so I definitely relate to that piece, and I relate to feeling shame at the baby shower for some reason, like
Yeah.
feeling awkward about it, having like those awkward feelings. And I did not have another baby shower until we had this blessing way for my last. I didn't have any kind of thing until that last one, but I did want to say those feelings are really valid and very relatable, and I think a lot of people understand exactly what you're talking about when,
Mhm.
like, in many cultures, it's very much like it's the pregnancy is only valid when, X factors are met. And even though you met X factors, like feeling those feelings anyway, I think that's very, very valid. And I think a lot of women, they feel like they should feel really happy, and maybe they do, but I think we also really under prepare women for
Yeah.
pregnancy. And
Mhm.
so much of our feelings of like, oh my gosh, I feel so sick, I'm gonna die, I feel awful. Um, yeah, there's 2 sides to that, all of that, but it can be shocking, and it can create these other emotional feelings that people feel ashamed of. And so, I don't know, I just wanna validate you and anyone else who feels that way.
Yeah. At that time too, there was a movement called Sacred Pregnancy, and it was an 8-week course, and I taught childbirth classes at the time, but there was this course on celebrating pregnancy, and I was, like, really it took me, like, 6 months to wrap my head around what the heck they're talking about, because it's like, oh, there's more to pregnancy than, like, the end result. Yeah, and since then, the woman who created that movement, Annie Delter, she's gone more into the witchiness of life, but, like, that was, like, my first toe step into some of those earth-based practices, so, yeah, it was good, like I said, to have this question that I was trying to answer is like, what is more what it why do I matter still, right? Now that I've 'cause that's the other thing. When you have a baby, you suddenly don't matter anymore, and that's really weird. And and not just to other people, to yourself, because you matter everything. You are everything to this child, but, um, who are you now in this experience? And, yeah, that matrescence I don't know how to say that word, but I know how to read it. I know what it means. That whole experience of becoming a mother, you get really lost in who am I now that and your whole brain rewires too.
Mhm.
So having that having like ceremony does so much for our nervous systems that I don't think we recognize what we aren't getting by not doing ceremonies. I don't know. Yeah.
I think that's an incredibly important thing to say because so we have adolescence and we already know like, oh, a lot of things change. Lots of things in our bodies change at adolescence. We don't look the same anymore. And matrescence is that, but different. It's related to being pregnant and becoming a mother. And we've lost a lot of ceremonies around adolescence, and we've lost a lot of ceremonies around matrescence, and we've definitely lost ceremonies around the transition of perimenopause and menopause because that's also a
Um,
threshold that's very important and gets talked about even less in a positive light. It gets talked about a lot negatively, but even less in a positive light than pregnancy and adolescence. And I definitely relate to the experience of not mattering or at least feeling like you don't matter with pregnancy. And I think that's probably true for a lot of women because it's like suddenly, I don't know, maybe you guys didn't experience this, but every time I was pregnant, every single time, I'd go through this period of time where I was like, I just want to hide because suddenly my body is everybody's business. And also, I don't matter as much as my baby. And it's weird that those two things are true. But they're also not true because I matter just as much as my baby. And my body is not everyone's business, but people around me act as if. They act as if it's if my body as if my body is their business. And I think that contributes to the multiplicity of conflicting emotions that we tend to feel around conception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, because it is complex and because we live in a society that no longer honors transitions, that no longer has ritual and ceremony and rites of passage that are deeply meaningful and connected to how we actually function and aren't supportive of our transformation into our next stage of life.
Yeah, I think that's really important to touch on. And that's part of the reason I wanted to drop the ritual episode before my baby was born in February, because we don't understand how much we need them. We need ceremony, we need ritual. And of course, ritual and ceremony are not the same thing, but they do go hand in hand, and they are really important for our brains to understand and to function and to help us get through transitions in our life. So I think it's really important that we're having this conversation, because I think so many women don't understand why they feel so lost during all of these transitions, right? Through adolescence, through matrescence, through perimenopause and menopause. They don't understand, why am I feeling empty? Why am I feeling this way? And I hope the culture is shifting, I think, and I think a lot of women now, hopefully, as they're having babies, are feeling a little bit more supported. So this is just this is Julie Midrash. Like, this is totally just what I think, which is, I think that a lot of women are having harder pregnancies because we have lost this ceremony, because we have lost this passage, and because we do such a bad job preparing women for this rite of passage. In German New Medicine, when we talk about the beginning of the first trimester and getting really nauseated, in they link that to identity loss and having a struggle with your identity. And I think that's very, very true for many women is, oh my goodness, my identity is changing literally overnight. Like, I took this test and oh my gosh, I have an entirely new identity now. And your body is like, oh, I can't contain that. Like, that's just too fast for me to fathom. I'm trying to get a grip on this. And so, and we also, I have to include that because we don't have ceremony anymore, along with this identity crisis, what's happening is we're replacing ceremony with all of our horror stories.
Mm.
Not that we shouldn't share our legitimate experiences. And for anyone who's had tough pregnancy, tough births, losses, it is not to say that your experience is not valid or that it should not be expressed or that you shouldn't be able to be held in that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm talking about is like the very common, like, there's no space. Number 1, there's no space for those difficult experiences to come out. Number 1, there's no, like, designated space for women to share their difficulties, during birth, right? And so then it just becomes a joke. And so because there's no, like, space for women to share that in a very legitimate way, it just, like, women spill it onto other women. We, like, spill where it's like what I'm talking about is the commonplace, like, "Oh, you're pregnant? Oh, you're gonna have a terrible time. Like, when I was pregnant, everything went wrong and everything was terrible and my life was terrible and your life is gonna be terrible." And we get these terrible stories, and that just adds to this experience of, not having a great threshold, a passage, not having a true rite of passage. It's just all these people spilling all these excess emotions because there's nowhere to put them because we've lost our ceremony. Okay. So that was my long diatribe about that, but that's what I think. That's why this is so important.
And I think something you're getting at here too is um, that good in, good out concept. So if a woman is pregnant and all she's hearing is terrible stories, then she's going to align her belief of what's possible with those stories. And that's not good for her, right? Of course, things can go better than expected, but if you're constantly focused on the things that are not going well, then you're going to see more things that are not going well. That is how psychology works. Um, so I always found it to be really helpful to read Ina May Gaskin's A Guide to Childbirth, because half of that is like just all kinds of different stories, like realigning that to stories that are going to feed you into a different version of normal. And it's not just like woo woo normal, like, oh yes, I sat in the sunshine every day, which is good. I'm not knocking that. And I covered myself in flowers and everything was fine. There's more to it than that too, right? There's this whole experience of like, okay, I was able to go to work and everything was fine. Like, and then I had, 6 months off because I had a good employer. Like, this can be fine. This can be normal. And hearing more of the good stories are key because, again, we're rewiring that nervous system during pregnancy completely and definitely after. So, yeah, we want to have some of those good things coming in. Anyways, I digress too. But I agree. Like, there's nowhere to put these bad stories. There's no space for that. And therapists are terrible at this, right? Like, it's hard to find a good therapist who can ask you those questions and go, "Well, what was your birth like?" No, they're gonna say, "What's your life like right now?" "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." The end. Like, no, like, let's talk about your childbirth experience. So, anyways, yes, I have many opinions on childbirth. I just do not want to talk about some frou-frou ceremonies. So let's talk about some frou-frou ceremony. How do we do this? How does this happen?
Well, Kaylee, was there anything else you wanted to say? Because you looked like you wanted to wrap up that thought.
Honestly, this feels like something that could be multiple episodes long if we want to really dive into the experience of like what it is to bring life into the world in this particular way. I mean, we
Right.
can bring life into the world in other ways that don't involve the body of another being, but this particular way has so much charge.
Mm.
There's so much reverence and there's so much non-reverence. I don't wanna say irreverence because sometimes irreverence is a little bit necessary. Um, but just this non-reverence, where we've lost track collectively in a lot of ways of the thread of sacredness that's in ourselves and that's part of this process of bringing life into the world, and that as we bring life into the world, our sacredness, it's not diminished.
I think to kind of wrap that thread up, the answer to some of the issues that we're having of, you know, they're preparing women and helping them through this threshold. Some of it is to have frou-frou ceremonies a little bit. So to go to what Jan and not so it doesn't have to be a frou-frou ceremony, but sometimes it's
Yes.
fun to have a frou-frou ceremony or any kind of ceremony in general. But I think that's why this is so important to talk about is we need to help women through this transition. And this is ceremony is one of those ways that our brain recognizes that allows us to see, okay, I am passing through a threshold now. My life is going to change. And for you to feel recognized, not only you to recognize it, but for you to feel other people recognizing this happening to you, which I think is also a very important part of the process. And I do think later we can talk about this in another episode as we've hinted at, but we can come back to what might this look like for the beginning of pregnancy or conception, right? How do we prepare people prior to having a baby or getting pregnant and kind of change that culture? But for now, let's talk about what we can do before this threshold of birth. So, Kaylee, do you want to talk about some of the ideas, some practical ways that we can celebrate women and also help them through this rite of passage with mother
Yeah.
blessings?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So, the idea of a mother blessing is in so many ways it's communal. It's okay, we're going to gather together as not necessarily just women, but it can be just women, absolutely, to support a woman who is going to be giving birth, and it can look like gathering together to make freezer meals to get put in their freezer so that they have something to nourish themselves postpartum. And then it can be those very practical, like, yeah, this is stuff that needs to be done, but to add a ritual and ceremony component to it, where it's like, okay, as we're making this, we are speaking intentions for what we hope for this woman in her postpartum experience. Like, there's so many different things you can do. Like, a mother blessing can look probably any way you want it to look. It's the intentionality of it and the involving the body to a certain extent. Um, I guess I'm not being super, super coherent about this. Maybe it would be better for me to, like, talk a little bit about what I actually did and then go from there, because I can feel my brain, like, struggling to pull information out in a way that other people will be able to understand. So, when I had a mother blessing for my 6th pregnancy, and going into that pregnancy, like, partway through, I realized, "Oh, wow, I do not feel prepared for this at all." Yeah, I've given birth 5 other times, but I don't feel prepared. I just feel panicky. I feel like there's no way I can do this again. And I recognized I need some community, even though that was terrifying for me. Sometimes reaching for community is the scariest thing I personally can do. Um, and I realized, like, oh, there's this concept of a mother blessing. There's this idea of having a rite of passage for the pregnancy and birth experience, and I don't have anyone in my life who's just gonna do that for me out of the blue. Like, if I want this, I have to do something about it. And so did. I basically planned my mother blessing, but then asked someone to facilitate it for me. And I invited people um, who I cared about and who cared about me. And some of them were more open to quote unquote woo woo things, and others were more closed off to quote unquote woo woo things. But um, the core of my mother blessing, what I think was most valuable for me, was that I was witnessed by other women, acknowledged as being in a transitional state. And they spoke to me their hopes for me. And they spoke to me what they admired and appreciated about me. And I had 2 candles that so one I set aside for my husband to write intentions on for me as, like, this masculine container candle. And then the women who attended my mother blessing, I had them write wishes for me on the glass of that candle. Um, and then when I went into labor, I lit both candles. There was feminine community and there was the masculine container of my husband's support. Um, and, like, we did the whole, foot soak with flowers in the water and massaging my feet with cornmeal as very symbolic, like, okay, very rooted in fertility practices, like ancient fertility recognition and things like that. But what made it feel so supportive was, 1, my willingness to receive and also to ask for what I needed. And 2, for other people being willing to show up, even if they were like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? I love Kaylee, so I'm here, but what are we doing? As well as the people who are like, this is the coolest thing ever. Of course I'm here. Like, I'm here for this and for Kaylee. And um, I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. My brain is in this space of struggling a bit with words and pulling words out into reality. But does that kind of speak to what you were thinking, Julie?
I think it's very helpful to have that um purview of like what did it look like for you, right? So what did you do for you? And I can give some other suggestions, and I'm sure even though Jan has not had one, I'm sure she has good ideas of what might be what people can do. But I think that's perfect, Kaylee. There some things that you can do if you're looking at like, okay, that's one way it could look. How can it look for me? I think two big things that Kaylee said that are really important is it's about your intention, right? Having it be something intentional, whatever intentional looks like for you. That could be I go to get coffee with a bunch of girlfriends, or I go to get a smoothie and we talk about my baby and they all tell me their wishes for me, or it can be much more ceremonial. I
Mhm.
will say that for your brain's sake, it's important that whatever it is that you do is out of the ordinary. It's a
Yes.
little different because that helps your brain understand and mark the experience. And it helps it say, oh, okay, this is us going over the threshold. We've held something together. So that's why, we always tell you, people, you can do whatever you would like. And that is so, so true. We just describe more of the ceremonial pieces because doing something different really helps your brain to figure out, okay, we're stepping over this threshold, we're doing it. It helps you to feel ready. So, some of the things that may be out of the ordinary that you could do is, of course, invite people you feel comfortable with. Kaylee also talked about how she invited people that she loved, even if she didn't know they were going to be cool with it or not, but they came because they were supporting her. So even if you don't have people around you who are, yes, let's do all the woo woo things, let's do this, yes, let's do that. You might be surprised that you can invite them and they can support you in their own way. In my blessing way, I had my mother there and I didn't know what her reaction was going to be. All of you, if you've listened to the birth in community episode, you've heard the way my mom talks. She's an in charge lady. She's doing her thing and like she's very much like go, go, go. But I was surprised that during the mother blessing, she was just very into it. And afterwards, she said, we need to do this for everyone in our family. We need to do it for all of the sisters. This is way better than a baby shower. And most people, that's their experience. After they experience a mother blessing, they're like, oh, this is way better because it's more personal. It's more personal, it's more real. So some other ideas of things that you could do is of course have people that you love there, have an intention. You can do like what Kaylee said, the something like washing the mother's feet, something that makes you feel loved. And sometimes that's like a massage. Sometimes that's like henna. Like I've known women who do like henna on their bellies or henna on their hands. You can also do something more ceremonial called the red thread connection, where you use a red thread and the way I did it, you can do this a lot of different ways, but you can wrap a red thread around your wrist, so the birthing mother's wrist. And when I did that, I talked about my matrilineal lineage, my mother's mother's mother. So I just said, I am Julie, right? Daughter of Bonnie, daughter of Daphne, daughter of Anna. And I went back as far as I could up that matrilineal line to talk about, as many generations as I could. And some people just did to their grandmother. You don't have to do that. But it was a recognition of we all come through this sacred thread. We all come through this thread of our matrilineal line, and we are all born from women. And so, naming those women down and reminding you, wow, I come from this amazing line of women before me who've carried me. And now I carry this red thread on as I birth this baby. And so I wrapped it around my wrist, and then the next person wrapped it around theirs and said theirs, and so on. And so, in the circle, we were all connected by this red thread. And then after we were connected, we said a blessing over the red thread. So you can do it whatever way you want. If you want it to be more like sing-songy, poem, prayer, whatever it is. So we did that. And then we cut the thread and we all wore it. And everybody wore it until after I had the baby. So everyone kept theirs on. And some people did it on their ankles too. So like that's a common thing people do.
I did a version of that too. Yeah.
How did you do it? What was your way?
Um, so, uh, basically, I talked about how connected we all were to each other. Didn't talk as much about like ancestral things, just talked more about the circle that we were in there and then, and how much um essentially how much ground we share together as women, and that the red thread was representative of that support that we have for each other. And each person, when they cut the thread and tied it off, it was then like their little bracelet or whatever you want to call it was like a reminder of the commitment that they had made to offer support to each other and to me. And then the idea was that then they would cut it when they had heard that I delivered the baby, as a symbolic like releasing of new life into the world.
I love that. That's beautiful.
And actually, my mother-in-law was one of the people that I was like, I don't know if she's gonna think I'm crazy doing all this stuff, but okay. And she actually wore her bracelet for like months afterwards.
Aw.
And it meant a lot to me. And I was really surprised that she took it very seriously.
I think I forgot about the red thread thing. I did actually go to a blessing way now that you're talking about this. Um, but it was a virtual one, and it was 2014, 2013. So it was a very long time ago, and so it was before Zoom was even really a thing, and it was over, like, Google Meet, and it was the thing, and, they mailed us red thread, and
Oh,
so we
wow.
could wear it, and then we had that whole and we just said a lot of really wonderful things about the mom, and because it was this blog group I was a part of about for natural parenting, and it was yeah, I totally forgot about the red thread. I wore that for months and months and months until my chiropractor was like, "Okay, that's actually sucking your energy. You should probably take it off."
It had
I
You've
believe
outlived
it.
finished.
it had
Complete
outlived its purpose.
it did.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
Mm,
and see, you can do this virtually
mhm.
too. You don't always have to do it if you feel. Of course, I encourage people to do as much physical as you can because it really is good for you and your body and your brain. But yes, you can do it virtually. You can do that. Other things like the candle thing was really great that Kaylee talked about.
Oh.
I always have people when I did it. I pass around a paper with symbols, feminine, I love feminine symbols. I'm all about the symbols. So I passed around a paper with feminine symbols and what they meant. And I had people carve those symbols into the candles for
Mm.
mine. And I stole this a little bit from Kaylee in my retreat because I was like, this is such a great idea, but applied it to the blessing way where I had people speak their blessings to me. You can do this lots of different ways. I think it's cool. Personally, I think it is really cool when you have each woman put a hand on you, if you're okay with that, if you're okay with being touched. I think it's really cool to have that and to have them, speak their blessing or have one person do the voice and speak a blessing over you. But it's so cool to feel everyone connected or like holding hands to feel their support. But what I did do this time around was instead I had a glass of water and I had each woman put lavender into the water. And as they sprinkled the lavender in, they said their blessing for me, their intention into the water. And so, water has memory and it held it. And so that water, if I had not had a fire at my birth, that that water would have been poured into the birth pool. So when I
Mm.
had the baby, it would have been full of those prayers and intentions. Or you could also drink that water if you wanted people to speak their intentions into the water. And they don't have to like put their breath on it. They can speak it, to the side of the glass or whatever you want. So that you could drink it when you get to that blessing. But I love the idea of having all these prayers or all these blessings inside of this water. And that was like the goodness that was going to come. And one of my friends, I loved this. I'm just going to share it because it's hilarious. But everyone was saying these beautiful things, and when people, if you're like, I don't know how I would give a blessing or whatever, it's just a wish that you have for that one. Like, I wish that you have a comfortable postpartum. I wish that, your birth is easy and quick and that you feel all you want to feel, whatever it is. And hers was like all of the she takes the jar and she goes, all of those are good blessings, but this one's even better. And then she goes, my blessing for you is that you have an absolutely orgasmic birth.
Oh,
And I
I
was like,
love it.
yes. Yeah. I was like, yes, that's my dream, the dream of my life. It was one heck of an orgasm if that's what it was. I'll tell you that. So, those are some ideas. Any other ideas the two of you have or anything, any other practicalities we should talk about?
Yeah. So, one thing that I think is incredibly beneficial is to, in some form or fashion, get your fears and anxieties about the impending birth out of you and your hopes and dreams for the impending birth into you. And that can look like you're writing out your fears and anxieties and you burn them, or you write down what you do want and then you do something symbolic. So like I had people drum me. They drummed me and I spoke my anxieties and fears out of me as they drummed me, and then they spoke their wishes for me and I spoke my own wishes for myself into me with the drumming as well. And like you can do that with writing and burning, you can do that with um speaking into water and then doing something with that water. Like there's a whole variety of different ways that you can physically do something that helps facilitate that shift, that release, and that receiving in your body, in your brain, and on an energetic level. And it makes a difference. It really does.
Yeah, I think that's super important because, like we were saying before, often we don't have a real space. We're very afraid to express our fears. And we also have to deal with kind of that cultural idea that, like, if I say the scary things out loud, they'll happen to me. And so having a safe container to say them and to let them go and to see them, you burn away or whatever it is, and then to receive something else into you, I think is super, super important. I think thing we did for you, Kaylee, which was really cool, later, I guess this wasn't really part of the blessing way, was the threshold
Oh, it kind of was.
ceremony.
I had essentially, so for anyone that's not me and Julie, because none of the rest of you would have known what went down because we were the only people there. So for my 6th pregnancy, I did a mother blessing with a bunch of different people. I didn't even know Julie at that point, right? Yeah, no, I didn't even know you at that point. But for my 7th baby, I kept feeling like I need to have something like that. I need to have some sort of mother blessing. And I don't know what I want that to look like. It doesn't feel right to have a bunch of people. I don't know what to do. And then Julie flew out to be here with me for the birth of my baby. And for several days before I had my baby, we just did multiple small things together, including like a threshold ceremony, including a soaking my feet in water, and Julie put flowers in and spoke certain intentions with the flowers, including her offering a blessing over me, including us clearing the space where I would be giving birth. Um, and Julie, I'd love for you to speak more about that threshold hold ceremony in just a minute. But I want to say that this that I'm sharing right now, it illustrates this idea that a mother's blessing does not have to look the same way for the same woman. It does not have to look the same way from woman to woman. Like you could have one for yourself by yourself, or just you and your partner, or like the community aspect is valuable, but if the community aspect isn't actually what you need for that particular threshold moment, don't feel like you have to have that. It can be a trusted person. It can be you and the natural world. It can be you and your higher power, like whatever that feels like it needs to be for you to experience that threshold in a supported way is exactly the right way to do it. So, Julie.
I don't know why that made me emotional, but it felt emotional when you were talking about that. I was feeling it. Maybe I'm feeling everyone's stuff. But I think just thinking back to that it was like a beautiful experience we could have together over those few days and do small things, and you can do that, as well. But what we did do is we did have Kaylee write down all of her fears, all the things that she was going through. And then we got that same red thread and we put it over an actual threshold.
Mhm.
And she got to cut and walk through the actual threshold. And we burned the fear. We burned the fears, didn't we? Burn the fears? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and, something like that, like, actually walking through a doorway, I don't you think it's not gonna feel like something, but it does. It,
it
like,
does.
actually feels like something. You can feel the transition, and so that was, a very beautiful you can do something as simple as that. I think that's really I think that would be a profound thing to do, especially if it's your very first birth, to
Mhm.
do some kind of threshold ceremony. Or and this can apply also, some of these things also apply to, passing into menopause too, or any kind of threshold. You can do a threshold ceremony that can feel very like, "Oh my gosh, here we are. We're doing it." And it helps your brain to be like, "Yes, I am doing it. I'm going somewhere." So, I love that. Anything else we should bring up before we talk about reclamation?
Food is popping into my head. Just
Oh,
food can be a really valuable part of the experience. Going back to like, oh, the snacks when we talked about the wheel of the year and all of those episodes. Um, like nourishing foods, grounding foods, but ultimately, whatever food sounds really good to you, have that food. And if you want, you can even bless the food or just set an intention of, with this food, I'm taking in the resources, the energy, the whatever that I need to be supported physically, emotionally, whateverly for this birth. That I matter and I'm nourishing myself. I'm receiving this nourishment and expressing gratitude for wherever that nourishment has come from. It can be very profound to do that. And then sharing food with friends and family can just be fun.
I super agree, and I think it's so great because 'cause we're so hardwired for food from the beginning of our life, and even, like, taking that symbolic nourishment we take from our mothers when we breastfeed and that we will be breastfeeding children, I think that can be really beautifully symbolic as well, receiving nourishment, so I love that. This was the other thing I was gonna say was I think it's valuable also to go online and learn a couple of songs, like a couple of these kind of ceremonial songs that are beautiful. One thing I did do for a friend is I sang her a song. That was my blessing to her, is I rewrote the lyrics of a song for her and I sang it to her. And that was a beautiful experience. But man, being in the room when you have a bunch of women sing together, oh, there's just like it's so powerful. Just that and we know because of our good friend Stella that that word incantare, right? Songs are spells. Songs are prayers. That's where that like an incantation, that word comes from the same word as song. We're singing. And so singing blessings over someone is really lovely. And I think what I'll do is I'll link a couple of songs that I really like. But if you search on Spotify, I promise there's like, you can be like mother blessing song or like spiritual song and find them. I just think it's one of the saddest things is that we have lost the connection of old songs together.
Mhm.
And we did have Kate on in the very beginning, Kate Versava, who is your local midwitch, is like her handle. She in her course, the woman craft course, she has a whole list where she taught us different songs, ancient songs that had been passed down from woman to woman. And I think those are very worth looking at. And I bet if you were to message her or look at her page that she would be willing to send you those songs so that you could learn them. But I think that's really powerful. Not that you have to do it. I just think these things add to ceremony and they're very beautiful.
I think I saw something recently on the topic of singing. I saw something recently that was very interesting. So, with the rise of singer superstars, the normal people's voices have stopped, have quieted. And so now singing is a thing that people do um, only if impressive,
Mhm.
right? And only if you're in the spotlight should you be the one singing. When previously, like, I don't know, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, people had a piano in their house and they would just, oh, we're just going to go sing together
Mhm.
as a normal, Tuesday afternoon thing to do. TV wasn't the thing. We didn't all get glued to our phones, but also we didn't feel embarrassed to use our voices in that way. So and it's a very nervous system clearing and grounding practice. Like it tones the vagus nerve right
Mhm.
there. Um, One of the most interesting things that I found was singing in my car very loudly, even poorly, right? Had helped me through some very difficult times. And singing is so important for um, ceremony, for rite of passage, for putting a bow on things. You don't want to cry, just sing. You'll feel better. Yeah, I just thought that was really interesting that you brought up singing because that's important. And some of those old songs, particularly ones in like, and I think I've said this before, in Sanskrit, the old dead languages, in Latin, in I want to say Gaelic also, but I don't have the evidence on that one. But when you touch your tongue to your palate in those certain spaces and places, you are activating different parts of your brain to respond in the same way. And so, in the oldest languages, the word for love activated the love parts of your brain. And again, that's why these old songs are really important because we're bringing through that energy as well. Anything you're doing.
I love that you brought all of that
Jan.
up because I get so passionate about that concept of like everybody was born to sing, everybody was born to create art, and then we lost it. So many of us because we were told, oh, you only do that if you're really good at it. You only do that for praise. You only do that like, oh, but that piece that you brought in about like old languages or dead languages, like the ones that aren't being spoken as much or aren't spoken at all, being connected to things in the brain, the words matching the like that's astonishing and also like of course it would be that way. Of course.
Of course. Because it was a pass through.
Mhm.
Yeah, it wasn't a representation, it was an expression.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jan, you're so brilliant. You always bring in all your brilliant wisdom and
It's
pieces.
so
I love having you. I just have to give my gratitude. Today I'm so emotional. I wonder if I'm gonna like have a period soon. start start menstruating again soon. I hope not. Um
Yeah, right.
but I I just have to bring in my gratitude for my co-hosts. Both of you always bring such like beauty and wisdom and make every episode just so worthwhile. So, thank you
Oh,
for all
thank
you do.
you.
And you too, Julie. It's a new moon in Taurus later today on this day of
It's a
recording.
new one ceremonial practice I have always wanted to do in any version of like whether it's wedding preparation or birth or any female related rites of passage is this idea of rubbing honey and um, oils and herbs on the skin and just going all the Julie's really gonna cry now and just going all the way up everywhere. Just that nourishment piece, that touch piece, that we got you, that community. There's a lot of if you want to talk about the neurology of that, like there's a lot of nerve endings in the skin and it's giving lots of sense of safety. I just think that would be really fun to do and very vulnerable.
Yeah. That is so perfect, Jan, and, like, I just imagine, like, oh, as a reclamation, like, Jan, that would be so beautiful and so
I
perfect,
know.
and, like, a lot of people don't know this, that I was trained as a massage therapist, but before I was trained as a massage therapist, getting weekly massages from a student clinic got me through the darkest period of time in my life when I thought everything in
Mm.
life was falling apart. A wise person, a mentor told me, "Go get a massage. You need comforting touch that wants nothing from you and is only giving to you." And that's like, that saved me in so many ways, and that's part of why I became a massage therapist, and you saying that, like, yes, like, that would be so incredibly nourishing for anybody, but it seems so perfect for you.
Yeah. Touch is my primary love language.
Oh, well, we need to do more hugs. I mean, we are virtual, but
Yeah. I will
we
hug
have
you
to
to
get
in
together more.
Florida.
Yes, we need to get together more. Come to the beach, Jan. Come fly to Florida, and we'll go to the beach
I
together.
told you I wanted to go to Florida and what I wanted to do, right?
No, what do you wanna
I
do?
would love to have a retreat where we just all bury each other in the crystalline sand of
Yes! Oh my gosh,
of
yes,
of
I
Western
remember that.
Florida because it's
Yes.
all quartz from the Appalachian Mountains.
Yes, it is. That's why
Mhm.
we gotta go. We're gonna do it. Okay, new thing on our checklist. Sorry, Marie, if this is a really hard episode to edit. Just cut out
Definitely.
this extra stuff as
Or
you
leave
see
it
fit.
so people
Yeah.
see we're
Or leave it. Like,
it
Or leave
it's in
it.
if you
process,
want
it's in
this.
process. Anyway, sorry.
Alright.
We could
Well, with
transition to reclamations now.
Mm,
Seems like a
the
good place
transition
to
to
transition.
reclamation retreat. I love this.
mhm. Yes, reclamation retreats. Let's have a
Oh,
reclamation retreat.
Yes. That would be so
Let's do it.
beautiful.
Yes. Alright, Kaylee, tell us about reclamations.
All right. So the concept of a reclamation is essentially if there was a rite of passage that you feel like you missed or you didn't experience the way that you wanted to, it's not the end. It is not all
yeah.
over. You can have a ceremony of your own to reclaim that experience and have it in a way that feels more aligned with what you actually needed and need. And so, like, I don't know, some people might hear reclamation and they're like, "Oh, do I have to, like, pretend to give birth again or something?" And no. I mean, you could, but no, that is not necessary. But to have some sort of, like, you could do anything that we've talked about and not be pregnant and just set this intention of, "This is me reclaiming that experience and having my own threshold moment with what happened in the past, but here and now." And that's a reclamation. And you can do that for anything, really. Anything that you would consider a rite of passage. Anything you want to add, Jan or Julie?
I feel like there's gonna be more crying involved than that. Than like if it had happened in the first place. But maybe that's not true. Maybe I would have cried in the first place
Yeah.
anyways. So yeah. Like that just sounds like okay. Have you heard of those retreats where you just spend the entire time like laughing or aggressively crying, right?
Yeah.
I don't ever wanna do that. So, that doesn't sound like a good time, right? But if the need arises, I'm fine with that. It's just, "Let's go. We're gonna do a laughter retreat." Mm-mm. That sounds super weird, and it has been so popular in the past where you just spend 3 days, 8 hours a day laughing. Just, "Ah, ha, 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 ha." Um, it's not that, right? It doesn't have to be that. Reclamation
No.
can look like a lot of things, and I think that when we do any kind of healing work in general, that's what we're doing, but having a specific ceremony around that, gosh, for all of those, and the human experience does not naturally create closure, right? That's why we have ceremony, because it gives us the closure that we need for things that feel like they're very open ended. Um, and if we are doing reclamation, like that's like just ceremonially closing a lot of mental tabs,
Mhm.
big ones and small ones, right? Some people might need closure after a relationship. Some people might need closure after whatever. But those are the things that it's really important to recognize and honor. Like I need to have closure around this thing. Let me do a little ceremony. Let me light a candle. Let me um, have a bath. Let me put my feet in water. Let me invite somebody over and let me just ask them, hey, can you put my feet in water? Like, and I'll do the same for you later. That's part of it too. Just like with all of um, with the blessing way stuff specifically, we're saying it can be whatever you really feel like you're being pulled towards. If you want to reclaim your sense of safety after a terrible thing, if you want to reclaim whatever it is, what feels like this, even as ridiculous it may sound, what feels like the thing that will give you the sense of, that's complete. I feel complete in this experience. I think that's really what we're getting at.
Mhm.
And I feel honored, right? Like that's the other piece is I matter and I feel honored and I don't have to keep reaching for something that I don't know what because I don't know how I'm feeling. But maybe it's just I didn't feel honored. I mean, I know I did not. I felt like, oh, you're stupid.
And I think that piece is really important. Everyone deserves to feel honored, for these times. Anytime I mean, for all the creation that we do, not just bringing human life into the world, but honoring you as a creative force is really important and really beautiful, and everyone deserves to experience that. So I think reclamations are a beautiful way to do that because so very few of us get that experience, especially around birth. I think that happens a lot less, and especially not during motherhood, which is funny because we just had Mother's Day, and
Oh,
which
yeah.
is kind of part of why we're doing this episode, this timing. But, I know so many women who have struggle on Mother's Day because it's hard to feel that honor. There's a number of reasons for that, but if you for the listener, if you feel that way, if you feel like you have not had that experience, reclamation is for you and you can have that no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, no matter what stage of life you're in. You get to choose and you get to do what works well for you. And I think you might be surprised how many people are willing to support you in that.
Mhm.
And that if you ask someone, because we're really bad at asking for help, but if you asked friends to help you or to do that for you, how willing they would be to help you, even in a small way. And like I said, even if it's like, let's just go get lunch together and then go sit and talk at a park or whatever it is, if that's all you need, then I'm sure that there's someone in your life who would be willing to do that for you. And don't feel like you can't ask.
Yeah. I definitely when I had my first mother blessing, I was shocked at who really showed up for me. And so often we think, "Oh, this person wouldn't wanna do that. This person wouldn't be interested in that." But the reality is that usually we're not totally correct. We don't know what's going on in their hearts and minds, and they might actually be super interested or find themselves surprisingly, pleasantly glad they said yes. And another thing that feels like just to kind of shift gears slightly, but this feels really important to say is that reclamation should not be a form of spiritual bypassing. It's
Mm.
not saying, oh, you shouldn't feel how you feel about your birth. You shouldn't feel how you feel about your motherhood or how you were mothered or about this thing or that thing. It's honoring what you feel, even if it's hard, even if it's messy, even if you're not sure what you feel, and doing the thing that helps you feel like you're seen and witnessed and honored and can have some degree of closure or transition. The goal is not to shut down what you're feeling or to tell you that you're wrong for how you feel.
So good. So good. I don't think I can say that any better. What is one little piece of wisdom that you guys want to share before we sign off here?
I think I just gave mine.
Yeah, I think so. I was like, I can't. It was like a mic drop. I was like, we could end the episode right there.
Amen. That's what I say.
That sounds
Amen.
good.
Just
Very
know
good.
that you are loved. I think that's all
Oh.
I have to say. Know you're loved, and no matter where you are in your life, you can experience a ceremony, you can experience reclamation, and that you don't have to live with these leftover feelings that you may or may not have, and that there is community out there for you,
Mhm.
and we're here for you. So, we love you all. Thank you for listening to us.
Yay. Thank you so much and have a great week, everybody.